Welcome to the latest Contrabassoon review video, and we've got a doozy for you this time. But before I start, I want to thank everyone for their comments in the reviews of other contrabassoons. I am working on some of your suggestions, and if you have any suggestions about what you'd like to see reviewed in terms of contrabassoons, just leave comments down below. So this time we have a storied bit of Hollywood history and the instrument that may have set off a lawsuit. Let's dig in. So let's unpack what we've got here. This is a Lange low A contrabassoon from the early 1900s. And as usual, let's start with the geometry of the instrument, what it actually looks like. And you'll notice it actually looks thinner than a lot of other contrabassoons that you may have seen. And that's because the bell, instead of coming up and over and around the side of the contrabassoon here, it comes up and over to the front of the contrabassoon, which makes it appear thinner visually, but also makes it easier to see past because it's literally less wide. The design is actually also similar to a 1960s Puchner that I also evaluated on an earlier video. The left thumb of a contrabassoon, if you're used to playing contrabassoon, you know that that left thumb has a lot of keys. And the early Heckles had a little tiny ball for the second octave key, which is sometimes kind of frustrating to play. This instrument has a really great arrangement for the left thumb, and it's really easy to play those upper notes, which is great. The keys are nickel-plated, which you don't often see on a contrabassoon, so that's interesting. There's no tuning slide with this instrument, which is something that came around, I think, a little later, like in the 1920s. So this instrument predates tuning slides. There's no tuning slide on it. There's no adjustable tuning. There's also no adjustable foot. But the foot design was recently changed to something that's more sturdy. So that's actually good because what you do is you just select the foot of whatever length you want to have, and you screw it into the bottom, and then it stays there, and it's not going to fall down. So that's nice, super sturdy. And because it's a standard thread, you can have your own foot length designed if you want to design other lengths and use it with this instrument. So that's totally possible as well. Believe it or not, it comes with the original bocal, which is pretty cool considering it's 120 years old now. But I have found that a more modern bocal gives the Lange a better sound. So I'll be playing a Heckel CD1 when you hear me playing a little bit later in the video. Speaking of Heckel, except for the points that I've mentioned already, this instrument is actually similar in many ways to a turn-of-the-century Heckel contrabassoon. And that's how we get to where this instrument may have caused the first contrabassoon-related lawsuit in history. The maker of this instrument was named Reinhold Lange, and Lange was from Wiesbaden, Germany, and he was inspired by the success of Heckel, located in nearby Biebrich. Lange wanted to try his hand at a similar business of his own, making instruments, so he got some workers together and started making bassoons and contrabassoons in the 1890s. Now, I've looked through all the available material in English regarding Lange, and there's some conflicting opinions about him, depending on whose side you believe. What we do know for certain is that Lange engaged a guy named Friedrich Stritte, who worked at Heckel for 25 years. And actually, Stritte created the keywork for the original compact Heckel contrabassoon in 1877. Here's a fun fact. The original compact contrabassoon by Heckel was played left-handed. They changed it 2 years later to a right-handed design because a left-handed contra is just a bad idea. Anyway, the problem was that in addition to working for Heckel, Stritte started working for Lange on the weekends and taking tools from Heckel's factory home with him to do the work at Lange. So in 1900, Stritte left Heckel for good and he started working full-time for Lange. Because he had a fallout with Heckel, which probably was related to the fact that he was moonlighting on the weekends with tools that he was taking from the factory. Anyway, according to Will Jensen's 8-volume tome on bassoons and bassoon history, Lange was sued by Heckel and found guilty and fined for copying their instruments. So he had to stop making instruments entirely, and he actually died shortly thereafter in 1905. So this instrument by Lange is actually pretty rare because they didn't make instruments for very long. And it's actually kind of interesting because it arguably has Heckel heritage because it was made albeit illegally, by the same tools that made Haeckel's and the workmen who were trained in Haeckel's ways. Now, how this particular instrument got from Wiesbaden to Los Angeles is not known, but according to the current owner and the records of Local 47, this contrabassoon was previously owned by Kenneth Lowman. Now, you may not know the name Kenneth Lowman, but Kenneth Lowman played for Disney, and he played for Disney in the movie Peter Pan. That's right, this is the instrument that played what is perhaps the most famous contrabassoon solo in all of film, the Crocodile song. So now I get to play Never Smile at a Crocodile from Disney's Peter Pan on the exact same instrument that played it in the film. And I'll leave a link in the description to the 1953 version so you can hear how Kenneth Lowman played it in the film originally. How cool was that? So after Peter Pan, this instrument stayed in LA, and the current owner played this instrument in numerous film scores as well, including Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, The Incredibles, and 3 Mission Impossible movies. So there's lots of Hollywood history in this wood. Now, before we hear it playing Bach, here's some statistics about this instrument. The height is 170 centimeters or 6 foot 7 inches tall, but that's 5 inches shorter than the low A Haeckel that I profiled elsewhere in this channel. And surprisingly, this instrument is very light compared to others. It's 4.9 kilograms or 10.8 pounds. That's 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds lighter than a modern Fox contrabassoon, which only goes down to low B flat, and this instrument goes down to low A. It's twice again as light as the low A Haeckel. Go figure. What's not light is the case. It comes with a very heavy hard case, but of course that means it's also very sturdy. The tone, as you'll hear in a moment, is warm and velvety. The upper octave, the octave above the staff, is amazingly open and easy to play, even if it's a little sharp compared to the lower registers, but that easiness to play in the upper octave is not something you get in a lot of older contrabassoons, so that's great. One note, the F sharp in the staff is like 30 cents sharp, which is a bit baffling, but other than that, it's a pleasant instrument to play and obviously a thrill to play as well, given the Hollywood history that also comes with this horn. As I record, this Lange contrabassoon is available on consignment at Forest Music in Berkeley, and it's available for local and in-store trials. And I want to thank Forest, obviously, for giving me the opportunity to highlight this and share this review with you on the channel. So full disclosure, I'm not getting paid for this review. It is my 100% honest opinion about this contrabassoon. So now I'll end the video, just as I do with all my others, by playing Minuet No. 2 from the Bach cello suites. And I'm using the same recording equipment that I used in my other videos, so you can compare the sound of this contra with the others as I play. The Croc, the famous Lange contrabassoon. Thanks for watching.